it's me, the drinker, again. I'm back. I'm a man of my word. I said I would do a super chat catch up the other night because I know I had some outstanding super chats from Ask the Drinker number 3. I need to make this some kind of regular thing. It's great. Just fielding questions from people. Just let the discussion go wherever the fuck you guys want. Anyway, yeah, there was super chats left over. And as I like to say to Tatiana, let's not fuck around with chit chat and let's just get right down to it. So, allow me to go into the next one on the list that was waiting. That was from LaRooster, who says, "Hey Drinker, I love your content. I've watched Mando, Boba Fett, and Obi-Wan. Watching it made me realize characters like young Leia, Reva the Inquisitor are just arrogant, and it's so annoying. It is, and yet they're somehow applauded for it because I guess that's what we look for in characters like that now. You know, as opposed to like resourcefulness, intelligence, quick-wittedness, compassion. Yeah, we don't need that now. They just need to be arrogant as fuck, apparently, because that's empowering." Janavi says, "I was only able to come on Saturday, and I think your panel was already finished. Sorry, man. Yeah, I guess you missed me at Tampa. But I've read your first Ryan Drake novel, and it was pretty great. Thank you, and I'm glad you enjoyed it." Nightbreed24 says, "Prey was all over the place historically. Comanche weren't woke, kidnapping, gang-arring women. French were out 30 years before it started, and you can't slaughter scores of buffalo with flintlocks." Yeah, I'd kind of imagine if you shoot one, the rest would run away. And so, yeah, you're not going to be able to kill too many. But yeah, as far as I know, the Comanche had pretty strictly defined gender roles because I did do a little bit of reading up on it just to understand what their society was actually like. And yeah, different tribes had, you know, different structures of how they did their society. Some were fairly flexible and egalitarian. Others, like the Comanche, were pretty strict about how these things were done. So, yeah, whatever. I guess this is the magic of movies. Austin Ewer says, "Hey, Drinker, I love your review of It's a Wonderful Life, and I wondered if you do more reviews of classic films." Absolutely, I would love to. I'd like to hear your thoughts on them, especially how they compare to modern stuff. Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's, you know, there's not as such a big demand to get reviews of these older things just because, you know, how much can you really add to the discussion about them at this point? But I did like doing stuff like that. And movies like 12 Angry Men, you know, they date back to the 1950s. But they can still show you so much, not just from an entertainment point of view, but from a writing point of view of how to craft characters and structure your story. Just really like the nuts and bolts of writing stuff. It's fascinating stuff for like wannabe aspiring writers. So yeah, from that point of view, I'd absolutely like to do more. Geek Factor says, "What do you reckon? Will She-Hulk gain street cred for having Daredevil in it, or will Daredevil lose street cred for being in She-Hulk?" Yeah, I think it'll be the latter, quite frankly. There doesn't seem to be much to recommend that show. The trailers that I saw were pretty insufferable. And man, I don't even know if I'm going to watch it. I just fucking don't care about these garbage Disney Plus shows anymore. Game Sense says, "I messaged you on Patreon about Predator Hunting Grounds, the game, which has a better story with the Dutch tapes and makes more sense with keeping with the lore of Predator, and the character of Dutch is a badass." I mean, as he should be, yeah. I don't know if I've gotten to that one yet, if that's the case, if it's on Patreon. I always reply to all my messages, so I don't know if I've just not got to that yet because I've been away for a week. But yeah, I mean, I've heard good things about some of these Predator games, like Predator Hunting Grounds, meant to be pretty damn good. Just never really got into them myself. I remember playing one of the Aliens versus Predator games on the PC, like way back in the day, where you were like a colonial marine. That was pretty fucking cool. Claudio Rogojan says, "Watch the Pierce Brosnan Bond movies." Excuse me. "And I noticed the same thing happened with him that happened with Craig. They reinvented the formula for the first film and then just fell back on the Bond formula." Yeah, I think so. GoldenEye was kind of unique amongst the Pierce Brosnan movies in that it was really fucking good. Ironically, the same guy who directed GoldenEye also directed Casino Royale, like kicking off a new sort of Bond era with a new actor with an awesome first movie. And then Lesser Minds, I guess, did the follow-up, which is a real shame because if they'd maintained that level of quality, especially with GoldenEye, kept that throughout the Pierce Brosnan run, it would have been fantastic. But yeah, they started to verge into like goofiness and the sort of campy, like a bit of a hangover from the Roger Moore era. It was a bit weird. And same with Daniel Craig. Like, Casino Royale was just brilliantly, tightly written, nice, tense, stripped down Bond movie. But yeah, they kind of lost that knack with the second one. Like, what the fuck was Quantum of Solace? No one even knows or cares. Got off to such a strong start. Uneven Streets says, I work with and I'm friends with normies who can't wait for Avatar 2. Also, sorry, man, for that. Also, did you hear about Rings of Power? They ghosted Peter Jackson. I appreciate your work. Thanks, man. I did hear about this, apparently. They were going to send him tapes of like the first few episodes, and they never did. And that's it. He's never heard anything else. I think they fucking know. They know he's going to be appalled by it because, like, the guy who actually did the Lord of the Rings trilogy and did a fantastic job with it, he is not going to be impressed with this shit. I think they don't want to hear dissenting voices at this point. I think they're so fucking committed now to their path that anyone who questions them now, they can't stomach it and they can't wrap their minds around it. So all they can do is just cut those people out. It's the same reason they got rid of that Tom Shippey guy, who was like the expert on the world of Tolkien and everything that he'd done. And he was essentially telling them, like, you're vandalizing Tolkien's lore, and you're really messing this up. And so instead of listening to him, they just fired him. So, yeah. No man, no problem, I suppose. Soto says, thoughts on Cobra Kai? The acting is absolutely terrible, but it does have all the right story beats. It's just held back by a small budget and bad actors. I don't think all the actors are bad necessarily. Some of them are a bit ropey, especially some of the younger ones. They're a bit amateur hour. I accept that. I think the writing is top notch, though. And the fact that it's done on a fairly small budget, although it's probably gotten a lot bigger in recent years because the show's a massive hit, I think that's to its credit because it doesn't need a huge budget. It's just, it's drama for the most part. It's melodrama in a lot of ways. But yeah, the way they give all of these characters who used to be just cardboard cutouts actual nuance and depth and like understandable backstories, particularly older generation of characters, I think it's genius. It shows what you can do with a good writing team. Honestly, I just want to see these guys do like fucking every show now. Legend of the Traveling Something says, in the next sequel, 10-year-old girl will defeat the Predator by beating him to death with a Barbie dream house. Probably. Yeah, it's just over the top nonsense. I remember when the Predators like would really like beat the shit out of you and like test you to the absolute limits of human endurance. Not now. They just kind of roll over and make dumb mistakes. Roland News says, just wanted to say hi, chats. Love you, Drinker. You're the best, brother. Love your content. You rock. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate the comments. Masked Jackal says, I'd love to see you recommending The Lonesome Dove, beautifully written Western miniseries with a stellar cast of Robert Duvall, Tommy Lee Jones, Danny Glover, and Angelica Houston, amongst others. Yeah, I remember Lonesome Dove from back in the day. I'm sure it was on when I was a little kid. But yeah, I mean, I remember it being there. I just don't like remember many of the details from it. The Walrus 1407 says, ever watch The Fountain? Same guy that did Requiem for a Dream. No, I have not seen The Fountain, I'm afraid, so I don't know about that one. Alan Paxton says, did Prey live up to your worst expectations? Did you see period settings being the way to bring freshness to that franchise, and thoughts on the future? No, it didn't live up to my worst expectations. It was considerably better than I expected. I mean, it was... like I described it at the beginning, it was like comprehensively meh, not great, not terrible, just kind of in between, like pretty inoffensive for the most part. Kind of verged into a bit of like the girl boss stuff towards the end, like maybe made the main character a little bit too overpowered. But to their credit, they did actually put some effort into building her up, at least in terms of her learning her skills and abilities, and making mistakes and not getting showered with praise everywhere she goes. So I can at least say that they didn't give us a Mary Sue. My worry is that they're going to do a sequel to this and they're going to fuck it. I hope they don't do any more of that. I guess if they have to make another Predator movie, which I'm not really that desperate to see, jump to a different time period, I guess. Give us different people in different times going up against this thing, and work from there, I suppose. Gutsy Toad Sage says, Drinker, you mad lad, thank you for shedding light on the diarrhea that Hollywood keeps shoving at us. Keep up the good work. Cheers. Thank you very much, man. I'll drink to you. David Cochran gave me $5, so thanks, man. Fat Daniel says, hi, Drinker, you dipsomaniacal inebriate. Did you hear about ESG, environmental, social, and corporate governance, and its impact on media like Netflix? Yes, I have. I've heard a great deal about this. So it's kind of like a social credit score for companies, basically, and more importantly, movie studios. I think it's determined by like major investment banks and stuff. I don't pretend to know like the details of how it works or how they allocate these things, but the theory is that your ESG score determines whether or not people will invest money in you. And so the more progressive and political you are, the higher your ESG score goes. And so the more investment you get, which is why so many of these studios, in theory, are putting all this stuff into their work. I'm not sure how much of it I believe and how much of it is just they've been hiring the wrong people, and they've been infiltrated by shit writers who only care about this stuff. But hey, it's a pretty compelling theory, I'll say that. The Horrorific podcast says, looking forward to featuring Dark Harvest next on Horrorific Tales. Glad the convention went well. Thank you very much, and I'll be interested to see what you guys say about it. I hope you enjoy it, man. Mohammed Wazapedo says, where did you get your ideas from for your books? Christ, that's a broad question. I mean, generally speaking, it's just stuff that I personally find interesting or that I'd want to read about myself. So, like, for Dark Harvest, it started off because I heard about the Dyatlov Pass incident, which is part of the backdrop of this book. I love me a good like unsolved historical mystery, and that one's just up there with one of the best, or with some of the best. There's so many conspiracy theories about it. There's so many unanswered questions. I just find it fascinating, and I thought, man, it would be so cool to work that into a story. And so that was my starting point, and then the rest of the story just branched out from there. So that would just be an example of you just happen to see something that piques your interest, and you start to develop a story from there, I guess. Sharpie360 says, Drinker, you legend, you. Thank you very much. Thanks for the awesome insight into the wasteland that is Hollywood these days. 100 pages into Betrayal. What the fuck is with Drake? Did he turn simp? I guess we'll have to see. Also, Peaky Blinders. With Drake, right, this is something you have to bear in mind. These first few books are kind of like an origin story for him almost. So he starts out and he's not perfect at what he does. He's not amazing at what he does. He can be outthought or outsmarted or outfought, but he gradually gets better over the course of the series. And that was my idea. That was my point with it. Because if I had him be this all-conquering badass right from the beginning, where is there left to go? Like, there's nothing I can do with him. So he has to develop. He has to get better. And this is what you see. First couple of books, yeah, he is still learning the ropes, and he is still figuring out how to do this stuff on the same level as other people. But he does get there. I Killed Fritz says, cracking more, ya weapon. Good on you. Thanks, man. Joe Lamont says, Doomcock says hi. Ask him on to sing Loch Lomond. Hey, that's a classic wedding song, I'll tell you. I recommend Watch Out. We're Mad Capone's Justiciero's review of Still Game as a Scot. Cool. Still Game is awesome. It's a fucking great show. Alphonse von Schermack says, speaking of underrated movies, have you ever seen The Sorcerer's Apprentice with Nick Cage? It's a B movie, but enjoyable with good world building. I remember it being kind of fun, actually. It was Nick Cage during that sort of, before he'd gone fully down the B movie stage, the B movie road that he had to go down because of all his tax problems. He was doing stuff like that. I don't remember him being that like into it, but maybe he was just in stoic Nick Cage mode. I don't know. Big White Shogun says the most underrated movie must be The Nice Guys with Russell Crowe, Ryan Gosling, and Shane Black, or by Shane Black. It's fucking amazing. The Nice Guys is really good. It's a good fucking movie. The dialogue in it, I remember being awesome. William Teller says, greetings to you and Tatiana. Cheers, mate. Tatiana says hi. David Cochran says, dear Drinker, are you a fan of Bioshock? I've had a fantastic idea for Bioshock 3. Would you care to hear it? Would you kindly tell me? Yeah, I do like the Bioshock games, actually. They deal with some good ideas, great, like, mind-bending concepts behind them. I've had many a discussion with Mauler, who fucking hates Bioshock Infinite. I really like it. But hey, each to their own. I think we both agreed that the first Bioshock was fantastic either way. Ethan B says, would appreciate you revisiting The Dark Knight Rises. I think its first act was top-notch and quite thoughtful. Thanks for all the work, man. Cheers, man, and thanks for the donation. That was $50, so much appreciated. Yeah, with The Dark Knight Rises, I mean, it's okay. Like, I can acknowledge when you're talking about acts. Yeah, the first act is pretty good. The movie starts to fall apart, though, when Bane puts his actual plan into motion, and suddenly, you've got Gotham City that's on lockdown for like 6 months, and there's a nuke on a really, really slow countdown. It's all just weird pacing problems, and yeah, like I think as a plan for a Batman villain, it's just a really strange one. So yeah, I didn't love it. It felt like a movie that was kind of, I don't know, the execution just didn't match up with the concept, I suppose. I didn't even like the way they framed Gotham City as just being New York. Like, they don't even try to disguise it. It's like there's no like Gothic architecture. There's no crazy like skyscrapers or anything like you got in the comics. It's just New York City. That's all it is, and it looks really bland and kind of soulless. Which is a shame because like The Dark Knight was a fantastic film, and yeah, I've even got a bit of a soft spot for Batman Begins. Neo's Danger says, check out the SW Star Wars The Old Republic cinematics. They're amazing. All right, I will. Claudio Rogajan says, random, but I read the original Rambo book, First Blood. Let me say, Rambo is not the hero that he's portrayed in the film. No, he's not. He's a psycho and a killer. Yeah, he very much is, and he dies at the end of it as well. And I think they expand like the rivalry between him and Sheriff Teasel. You get more insight into him, and yeah, he's. I think Stallone sensed that like when it comes to movies, you kind of have to soften your character, even if he's an anti-hero. You have to make him at least somewhat likable. So I think he probably made the right choice for First Blood in movie terms. Daniel Monroe says, is there a particular movie or TV show death that broke you? I can't watch the rack scene in Saw 3. And I've talked about this before. It's fucking awful. It scarred me, and I have to fast forward every time. Yeah. Probably in Law Abiding Citizen as well. The bit where, he's taking revenge on the guy that killed his family, and he basically like straps him to a table and injects him full of adrenaline so he can't pass out. And he's like, basically, I'm going to like slowly dismember you, like one limb at a time. And you're not going to be able to die. You're not going to be able to pass out from pain or anything. You're just going to have to endure all of it. And he even puts a mirror above him so he can see the whole thing. That would be horrific. Like, I think it's just the methodical nature of it and how there's just no way out. I found that really disturbing. So yeah, probably that. Fox Mulder 81 says, have you seen the show Warrior? The lead wants to do a Ghost of Tsushima movie or show. Closest to Bruce Lee in a long time, charisma and skills. Sounds good then. Yeah, I'd love to see Ghost of Tsushima made into either a movie or a TV show, really. I think both would be fine. Yeah, there's so much backstory there. Such an amazing world that they created for that game. I'd love to see it on screen. John Smith says, give me $10 and says, here's a gallon of gas. That would not buy you a gallon over here, but yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Geo Stone says, check out Girl with the Dragon Tattoo with Daniel Craig. What did the drinker do before YouTube fame for work? Did you ever think you'd be here 5 years ago? Yeah, so I've seen Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, like the Daniel Craig one and the original Swedish one with Noomi Rapace. I think the Swedish one is far better, personally. Wait, is it Swedish? Fuck, is it? Yeah, it is Sweden. Yeah. I keep getting it mixed up. Is it like Sweden or Finland? But yeah, it's Sweden. Yeah, I think the original one is far better. I think Numi Rapace is a much better Lisbeth Salander than whoever they got for the fucking new one. Yeah, I prefer that one. What did I do before YouTube fame? I did like content editing and like web design. Basically, that was what I got my degree in. Was originally in IT, so I could move into web design. And because I was a writer, I was able to do editorial stuff, and so I eventually moved into that because it was easier. But yeah, like it's not exactly fucking thrill a minute, you know what I mean? And so eventually I got the opportunity to leave and do YouTube full time, and yeah, I've never looked back. And yeah, honestly, say it was probably the best decision I've ever made. I never imagined 5 years ago I'd be doing this. Yeah, my hope for my channel was just a little hobby, like something I would do on the side. Maybe I would eventually get like 1,000 subscribers and I can monetize it and make a few quid. But that was the extent of it. I always saw like writing as like my my preferred career. That's where I thought it was going to go. And to be fair, you know, that's what I was doing in tandem. You know, I got my first publishing deal 10 years ago, and you know that made things a lot better for me, like financially. And I was kind of at the point where I could have left my job and just been a full-time author. Wouldn't exactly have been rolling in money, but it would have been enough to get by on. But man, you know, it's not a very secure position when you're a writer. You know, you're only like one failed book away from just obscurity. So yeah, different possibilities, I suppose. But I'm very, very lucky, I guess, to be where I am now. You know, what can I say? I'm grateful to be doing it, and I'm grateful for everyone who's supported me. It's fucking incredible. L Boogs says, "What do you think of Daily Wire movies?" Yeah, so I still need to see Terror on the Prairie. I might actually go and try and watch it after this. But yeah, I like the fact that they're doing them. I like the fact that you know, you've got movies that you know, are a bit of a rival to the Hollywood system, and they're probably not so constrained by the message. You know, I just hope they don't go the other way and try and put their own like messaging into everything, because that's not necessarily what people want either. They just want something that prioritizes entertainment above anything else. Ethan B says, "Master and Commander, should that wimp have grabbed the cannonball and jumped off or stuck it out?" He should have jumped off, because that's what got them out of like being becalmed. Like they were stuck in one place and they couldn't go anywhere until he died. I think he was cursed. But you know, it's fucking superstition, isn't it? You know, I think either way, like the crew had taken against him. They saw him as bad luck, and I think sailors are just the most superstitious out of the lot, especially back then. So he would have been finished as an officer no matter what. Andrew Ranieri says, "Have you been able to watch the new movie Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe?" No, I haven't seen that, man. Sorry. Ty says, "A fun one to review would be Trading Places." That's a good one. Yeah, it's pretty funny. From Outside Space says, "Hey, Drinker, would you ever do like an actor review? Let's say Mel Gibson, to show like where they do great work and where they fail. That would be cool." Yeah, I've never really... I don't know. I've never done a drinker review of an actor. You know, I might do individual movies that they've been part of, but yeah, I don't know if I could really review their career. It'd be a strange way of doing it, I suppose. I think with Mel Gibson, man, I could practically do a production hell on his life, because man, he's had some bad times. Cryar says, "Please drink more. We love you drunk." Well, I love being drunk as well. That's why I do it. Boar Legion says, "Great to see you in Tampa. How did you like the long drink?" Oh, you're the guy who gave me that. Yeah, you gave me like 2 or 3 cans of that stuff, and it was great. Went down the street. It was very refreshing. Yeah, the one that I had, the second one, that was the one with the higher alcohol content, and it was kind of like drinking a can of wine. It was great. Roland New says, "Highly recommend the anime Bleach and Chainsaw Man, where they both drop in the fall. Awesome manga, and they're going to be right up your alley." Thanks, man. Cool. Stephen Bobo says, "Critical Drinker, I'm playing the game Control and loving it. It's made by the same people who made Max Payne and Alan Wake. Any opinions on it?" Yeah, I can definitely see the Max Payne influence. I feel like they went crazy with the physics engine on it. Yeah, I've played and completed Control. Yeah, I think the gaming mechanics were great. The combat was really fun. The setting a little bit bland after a while. Like I felt like the setting made no sense. You were like inside the TARDIS or something. It was a crazy like multi-dimensional building. I like the bits where you flash into the hotel and you've got to solve little puzzles and stuff, but I had no fucking clue what was happening in it. By the end of that game, I had no more idea of what was going on than I did at the start. I don't know if it was just me not paying attention or what, but the plot was just bonkers. Rob Eaton says that couch looks sad and empty without the doggo. In Kentucky, we have a wide variety of great bourbon. What's your favorite whiskey from Scotland? Sorry if you've been asked that 100 times before. Yeah, I'm sorry. Like the critical doggo, as tonight as well, is through in the living room. So this is just my office. Sometimes she comes through here. Sometimes she stays in the living room. She just goes wherever the fuck she pleases. And when she decides to plonk her arse down on a couch or whatever, that's her for the next several hours. So she's just not here tonight. But I'll try and get her for the next one. Yeah, you've got a whole bunch of bourbons from Kentucky, and I love it. But Scotch whiskey, it changes from time to time. My favorite at the moment is Lagavulin, which is pretty fucking dependable as far as whiskeys go. And Old Putney, because you get the distillery is near the ocean, so there's the sea salt in the air gradually seeps into the whiskey casks over a period of like a decade. And you can just taste that slight salty tang to the whiskey, and it's great. So I like that. And Balvenie Doublewood, that's always a nice balanced whiskey for me. So I like that. WJ Valenti says, what's your opinion on Predator 2? I love it. I hope I didn't ask this question already. That's why it's $10. If I do, how about Cliffhanger? Love them both. Yeah, I love them both too. Cliffhanger is a really good action movie. And yeah, Predator 2, I think it's probably the second best Predator movie that's been made. I think it's so underrated, doesn't get nearly enough love. It's just got everything. I like Gary Busey in it, just being Gary Busey. I like the main character. I like Harrigan. I like how they didn't just do another bunch of guys with guns in a jungle. You know, they took it somewhere slightly different. Yeah, nice and violent. There's some proper disturbing scenes in it. Some great action scenes. And yeah, I just miss that early 90s vibe that you got with movies like that. You don't get that grittiness anymore. Animaniac 1 says, what's your favorite and least favorite Resident Evil game? So a couple of favorites would be the remake of 1, because that came out on the GameCube around 2002. That's how you do a remake. Fucking brilliant. Like, graphics completely overhauled. The game world's been overhauled, so the mansion's a lot bigger now. They added new bosses like Lisa Trevor and stuff into it, which is nice and disturbing. Yeah, like massive improvement. But I do have a real soft spot for the first one, the original Resident Evil. I played the shit out of that game. I love it. Cheesy dialogue and all. I just think it's really a nice, fun, self-contained game. And when you think what it spawned, like how the series went through its ups and downs and became this big world-changing phenomenon, it all started with that one little game. That's incredible. Resident Evil 2 as well. Brilliant follow-up. Like that original PlayStation Resident Evil 2. Yeah, I think they took all the key elements that made the first one great and just expanded on them and moved the setting into Raccoon City. I thought that was fantastic. And Resident Evil 7 as well. What a way to like get back to the sort of core gameplay that made Resident Evil good in the first place. But like with a graphical update and with like sort of modern horror sensibilities. I think they did a great job with that one. Fell a little bit apart towards the end, but I'll forgive it for that because the first few hours are just absolutely spellbinding. So well done. Least favorite, probably Code Veronica. I thought that was so shit. I liked it at the time. I really did. It was like, holy shit, Resident Evil's 3D now. I don't just have those pre-rendered backgrounds. But it came along before 3D was like really fully formed. Like the technology just wasn't ready for it. And, you know, the characters have got this just weird kind of robotic movement to them. The backgrounds are just really bland and soulless. And I didn't like all that gothic horror stuff about like the Ashford family and stuff with it. Resident Evil is supposed to be about like evil corporations and biological experiments and stuff, and now you've got like these ridiculous like fake aristocratic families and stuff. It all just felt like so melodramatic and overblown. So that was one of my least favorites. And yeah, Resident Evil 6 is just, as an action game, it's kind of okay, but as a Resident Evil game, it's kind of a joke. So yeah, those would probably be my least favorites. Michael C says, Drinker, you inebriated incomparable intellect. Apologies if you've spoken on this before, but have you seen The Machinist? And if so, what did you think? Yeah, so I have indeed seen The Machinist. I guess it's notable for Christian Bale and like how much weight he lost for it. It's a pretty decent story. Like there's no like huge surprises in it. Like you're going to see the fact that like the dude who keeps harassing him is a figment of his imagination. Like that kind of got telegraphed fairly well in advance. But yeah, like just as a piece of performance, it's a pretty incredible movie. Like Bale went through a lot to make that film happen. Apparently, he wanted to lose even more weight for it, but like the on-set doctors and stuff were like, "No, you're gonna seriously like compromise your health for life if you do that." So yeah, I'm glad they stopped him. But yeah, it's an impressive movie if nothing else. Terminus Est says, what are your thoughts on American Horror Story? So that's like the anthology show, isn't it? It's like each episode's a different story. I've not watched enough of it to like form an opinion. I think the ones I saw seemed pretty good. So yeah, I would want to watch more actually. I just need to make some time for it. And Jan Javi says, what do you think of the Boondock Saints? I liked it. I know it's not considered a good movie amongst movie critics. Was curious about your thoughts. Yeah, so it's I can't get past Norman Reedus's fucking Irish accent. It's terrible. Yeah, I kind of like the style of it where they'll show the aftermath of their various crimes or revenge trips, and then later flashback to them actually doing it. Yeah, it's all a bit fragmented and a bit sort of rushed. Like they all just kind of like seamlessly move into like full on vigilante mode without a clear explanation for it. So it doesn't feel great from a character point of view, but it's kind of a fun movie to watch. So I guess that's kind of my take on it. Like I can see why it's not exactly considered, high art or anything, because it's not, but it's just like a kind of fun, I think it's like late 90s that was made. Yeah, just a kind of late 90s action thriller. Yeah, I enjoyed watching it. I wouldn't necessarily, put it up there with the best, but it was a decent enough movie, I guess. And I think that was actually the last one. So that was relatively quick, and I'm pleased that I was able to get through this nice and easy, because I thought there was more outstanding. So I'm glad about that. But yeah, thank you for you guys for donating all these super chats. As always, I really do appreciate it. I know this is like an offline, catch-up stream that I'm doing right now, but I know people will get a chance to watch it later. And for all those people that did send me these great questions and all the support and stuff, it's awesome. Like that question someone was asking me about 5 years ago, did I imagine I'd be doing this? Never in a million years. So it's because of you guys that I am able to do it, and have an amazing time in the process. So thank you. But yeah, for now, I'm going to sign off. I'm going to be back doing an open bar on Thursday. Excuse me. And I feel like I've got a touch of the cold. That's why I've been sniffing throughout this. So apologies. But yeah, I'll be doing open bar on Thursday this week. We'll be talking a little bit about Prey, because I've got a panel of people on with different opinions. And we'll talk about Warner Brothers, and the absolute bloodbath that's going on there. And yeah, various other things that are happening this week. So hopefully catch us there. But anyway, for now, that's all I've got for today. So go